Good evening. I'm calling the January 14th, 2026 meeting of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District School Committee to order. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. For public comment tonight, we have Ms. Dawn Byers.
Good evening. Dawn Byers, 20 Russell Road. Welcome, Dr. Marcus.
Thank you.
Tonight, committee, you have an agenda item which is for the program of studies to add a new component of online learning for all students. And I wanted to give some comments about connecting that online learning with student mental health crisis that you have going on in the building. The color green is a symbol of mental health awareness. I carry this green handkerchief with me as it was given to each school committee member back in 2023 from the Active Minds Club. That club was formed following the death of a student, Ava Petit. She was a sophomore who died by suicide on the Whitman commuter rail train tracks. Just 3 months ago, Ava's family and the Whitman Police Department published a letter on social media that they would be dismantling the memorial at the MBTA commuter rail train station. In that letter, Ava's family wrote, "For those who contributed to this tragedy in any way, it is my sincere hope that this memorial has been a public reminder of the impact your actions and words had on someone who was already fighting a daily battle you either couldn't see, or worse, you chose not to see." Her family goes on in that letter to offer encouragement to anyone who feels pain, the pain of life, too unbearable, and they say you are not ever alone. Even the worst storms run out of rain. Since 2023, I have driven by that memorial every time I came to school committee meeting. And I wonder, how did the actions of this committee impact students that we don't even know? So why am I talking about this? Because disturbingly, the early high school time of 7:05 is causing Whitman-Hanson students to be sleep deprived, causing anxiety, depression, irritability, and physical health issues. Raise your hand if you have had, or if you currently have a high school student who was prescribed medication for the first time in high school due to anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues. This is not normal in schools that start at 8 or 8:30 or later. I know I'm not alone. Science tells us the adolescent brain is not ready to learn at 7:05, but the status quo in this district has continued to allow it to happen, and it's dangerous to our students. Going back to 2023, just 5 months before Ava's death, Superintendent Simonak put forward options to change the start time, and the majority of the committee at that time rejected them. The board spoke, no change was made, and I was in the minority. People said I wanted that change just for my kids, but I stand here today to tell you that could not be further from the truth. Excuse me. My kids are both graduated, and I stand here fighting for a healthy start time. After that vote in 2023, I attended multiple webinars to learn about initiatives to start school later. What I learned is that outside of a state mandate like California and Florida has, you need two things to make a change. You need a majority of the school board to believe in the change, and you need a champion in the district who pushes it forward, usually the superintendent or the high school principal. In 2023, Whitman-Hanson had neither a champion nor a majority of the board. Today is a new day. There are now 7 new committee members and a new superintendent on the horizon. This brings me hope that the district soon has a champion who believes in funding what we value. If we truly value a student's human life and mental health, then find a way to no longer have the earliest high school start time in the state as 7:05. And when I say we fund what we value, regarding online learning and what you will be discussing about the programs of study. What do you value more, the in-person learning and connection with staff that is currently offered, or putting children in front of a screen to become further isolated and at risk of a mental health crisis? Now more than ever, we need human, positive connection, and the power lies with you, the committee, to make sure that that continues to be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Dawn.
Can I ask a question?
No.
You just shut yourself off. I shut myself off. Can I ask a question to the speaker? Just a clarifying question.
I think it was a clarifying question, yeah,
It's a
certainly.
clarifying question. Ms. Byers, could you help us understand what were the reasonings that were given? And one of the things was it the busing financial cost? And I asked
It was all about money.
And it was
all about money.
busing was the issue?
Yeah.
Okay, and I ask this because we are in the middle of a contract,
Right.
you know, and being mindful there.
Yep,
And it
thank you.
became more logistics about timing and so forth, but I felt that those were all problems to be overcome, not obstacles that were insurmountable.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you very much, Dawn, again. So I feel like a recurring thing that's going to happen is I'm going to start the school committee meetings by apologizing for a mess up that I made. So last week we had a presentation from our representative Sean Costello from MASC, and he outlined for us the kind of the plan we're going to go for in order to look for our future superintendents, interim and eventually full superintendent. And I think that Sean Costello does these presentations at a lot of different schools, so I think he has kind of like a, I don't want to say a spiel, but I think he has a kind of a regular thing that he says. So a lot of the things he said, I think, in terms of, he made some comments about we need to find a superintendent that has budgetary experience, and that's really important. It is really important, but I think that what I had failed to do last week was properly introduce Dr. Marcus. I kind of just turned it over to him and let him introduce himself, and I don't know if it's clear to the community. It's obviously clear to us on the committee because we looked at, we made a choice to vote him to be the acting superintendent. But I don't know if it's clear in the community, and I don't know if it was clear to Sean Costello, so I don't assign any malice on his part. But Dr. Marcus was a superintendent, has been a superintendent for years before, so this isn't, we do have right now an acting superintendent that has done budgets before in the past as a superintendent and as an assistant superintendent, and that was in Norton, correct?
Sharon and Stoughton.
Sharon, and Stoughton was where you were superintendent. So I think that I didn't properly introduce him that way, so I just don't want the community to have the sense, just being introduced to Dr. Marcus, obviously people in the Duval community know him very well, but other families and community members outside of maybe don't know very much about him, and I didn't properly introduce him. So when Sean Costello was saying we need to find a superintendent that has budgetary experience, like I should have said something last week to say that Dr. Marcus does have budgetary experience because he is leading this budget process for us now as we're entering really the very critical part of it. And so some of the comments that Sean Costello made might have been misinterpreted by people in the community, or there might have been people might infer things about Dr. Marcus's experience that I didn't make clear as the chair. And so I just want to apologize for that to the community because I just kind of turned it over to him and let him do the introduction. And as people who I think know Dr. Marcus, befitting of him, he did not necessarily give all his bona fides and his, he was fairly humble in his introduction about who he was and what his experience was. So I just want to make that clear to the community that he does have experience with the budget, and not that I think that Sean Costello meant anything by that, but I just didn't want to be interpreted that way because I didn't do a proper job of introducing Dr. Marcus to the community before we started. So I want to apologize for that, and with that, I'll turn that over now to Dr. Marcus for his items.
Excuse me, point of
Oh,
order?
yep.
Did you announce that it's being
You know what? It is being recorded by WHCA. Thank you, Ms. Blackman. Next week, I will apologize for not saying that we were being recorded by WHCA at the beginning of the meeting.
Don't worry, I forgot.
Can I layer on to your apology?
Oh, okay, yeah.
My understanding of Mr. Marcus was that he had Ben, who our last search committee chose for our superintendent. And correct me if I'm wrong, they chose something more internal, when it came to the school committee, something changed and they chose somebody more internally, but the actual search committee for
Well-
superintendent chose you.
Well, there were 3 finalists. And yes, I was one of the 3 finalists. So it was a little funny to hear that I'm an inside candidate when I've only been here for a year and a half, and 8 years ago, I was the outside guy that didn't come in. So yes, that's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Blackman, that
I think you've covered.
Okay, all right. We're recorded by WHCA.
No more apologies.
The fire exits are around us. If you know.
The alarm goes off
We were from the 2 member meetings ago. Okay. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Marcus for his superintendent items.
Thank you, sir. I always like to start with a little anecdote or update. Last week was a nice speech. This week, I'm going to tell you about my commute to work today. Have you ever been behind a school bus that's picking up kids and you say to yourself, oh my God, like, here we go. I can't believe my day is starting like this. So here I am on Temple Street as I'm coming up from Brockton, and bus 26, I don't know if Ms. Downey is here, but I think it's bus 26. I'm behind bus 26, and, they start picking up kids. And all of a sudden, instead of like, oh, I'm going to be late or whatever, I just watched the kids getting on the bus. I watched the parents coming together from different parts of their neighborhoods, waving incredibly kindly and sweetly to their kids, and just stop after stop, until we got up to Route 18, just one after another, these sort of groups of families coming together, parents waving to their kids, and instead of it being like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to be late, I literally did not stop smiling the whole rest of the way here. It was unbelievable that if you shift your thinking a little bit and think this is a moment to cherish and love and not be like, bah, I'm going to be late. It's amazing what it can do. And it was really beautiful to see not just the smiles and the joy, but also the fact that these are grown-ups that are coming together every morning, saying hi, patting each other on the back, and then waving to their kids, and then they're making that connection, right? So there's this community connection out of something as simple as bus routes. So I think it was really cool.
I'll tell my son thank you,
Yeah.
because that's where he is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on Temple.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. So.
I'll just say, Dr. Marcus, if you do decide to work on changing start times, then that would ease up everybody's commute in the morning, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people going to
And
work.
for somebody who does not like to wake up early,
Well, I just learned you get in early, is what I learned.
sort of. Anyway, so on our items, first item is the high school program of studies. It's in your packets. I hope you had an opportunity to take a look at that. And I would like to ask Dr. Jones to present that to us, and through you, Mr. Chair, take any questions.
Thank you. You've probably noticed that this is quite a large document. There are 23 items, so I'm going to break it up for you to help you kind of go through that and get questions addressed that need to be. The first thing I want to do, though, is thank the school committee or the school council that has approved this already with a vote of 6-1. I have a very engaged and diligent school council this year, and I'm really happy with the discussions that we have and how we dig into these things. So without further ado, the first one I'd like to go over is new additions to the program of studies. So the numbers will jump around a little bit, but starting right off, and I know this one will probably have some discussion as it was brought up earlier, and it was the one that got the most discussion at our school council meeting when we decided to approve this, and that's number one, the online learning piece. That's a new addition to the program of studies. Not to say that's something we're doing that is new, We're not adding anything. This language was added as an effort to be transparent about everything that goes on in the high school that has to do with how students learn or what they're doing to learn. So you'll see that that language talks about the idea of students being able to take additional courses and handle getting curriculum in different ways using Edgenuity. Imagine Edgenuity, who has just come out with actually a new product that is an addition to that, which lets us offer vocational opportunities to students as well and courses to students as well. So these two real short paragraphs at the beginning are just telling everybody that this is an option we use to help get creative in educating our students as they move through the school. I don't know if you want me to pause at each one for questions or if you want me to keep moving along.
I'd like to
Yep.
pause,
Okay.
because this concerns me as well, and I have a different reason that it concerns me. So if the child can't access, say they have dyslexia, and online learning is not an option, or ADHD and other different types of minds, and they do better with a teacher or with social sort of learning, what is your alternative to those children for this same program? Because then we have an equity issue if we don't have a person who is providing that same opportunity for those kids. So I have some concerns. I'm always going to probably want to point my feet in a different direction, and I understand you have there's a budget we're working with, and you're trying to do your best to, but I'm concerned when we see online, and we don't see, and we're losing teachers. I'm hesitant to point my feet in that direction, because we might walk that way, and I don't
Okay.
want to.
So, two things, if I can address some of the questions you asked. You asked what we do for a student that possibly has ADHD, that doesn't do well in front of a computer screen, or dyslexia,
Yep.
or some other issue like that. This is not in replacement of teachers. With some very few exceptions, this is another opportunity to reach students where they're at. We have multiple ways of being creative. So a student that has dyslexia or some other learning issue that keeps them from performing well online, we do work to put in front of teachers. We work different programs. This is used for, one example is electives. We use it for summer school. We use it for winter school. We use it for credit recovery. We use it to help students graduate, post-graduation if they can't come into the building. Sometimes we use it in conjunction with teachers in person. So it's not a program on its own. Well, the software is a program on its own. It's not a school program on its own that we wholesale push everybody to.
Okay, so there will be no service that is being offered that isn't offered in front of a teacher as well. Is this what you're saying? That you can't provide the same service, like, AP classes or something like that wouldn't be offered through this program, but not offered with a teacher?
That is correct. We offer all the programs that we're going to be offering with this, we offer in front of a teacher.
Okay.
Now, if there is an issue that would come purely budgetary or purely staffing, with that double up, we would take students and make sure that we're addressing the students where they are for their needs and switch their schedule to in front of a teacher in a space that we had, and see if we could switch another student that would be all right with online learning to possibly that if it was a space issue. But currently, no. The best place, and everything I've ever said, and I believe I'm in line with Dr. Marcus with this, the best place you can have a student is in front of a teacher.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Blackman?
So I'm concerned in the first paragraph about the option may be utilized in situations where a teacher is temporarily unable to conduct in-person instruction. That to me is a very frightening statement. In addition to that, I'm not sure how many people on school committee or in, the audience have ever looked at Edgenuity. My son used Edgenuity classes for credit recovery, and that made sense due to the circumstance. However, he was also put into full-year Edgenuity classes, which I am a teacher and I couldn't stand listening to. I don't think that the education is there. I understand it meets the requirements, but Dr. Jones, I'm going to kind of pick on you here. You eliminated midterm and final exams because students were not getting feedback on how they did on the tests.
That was part of the reason, yes.
Part of the reason. In online learning, they're not getting feedback, and I can tell you that. So while I understand there might be some extenuating circumstances, I do feel that this is something that the school committee should move to a policy committee to be discussed further before we approve anything along these lines being added. I don't like the idea of classes being substituted through with Edgenuity unless there's absolute extenuating circumstances. This sounds a little too casual to me. And I will also say that when my son was being computer schooled instead of, he also had an online tutor for an hour a day, which was not, they would not be as helpful. In person is always the best option, so I am very concerned about the generality and opening a door that we might not be able to close.
Can I,
Dr. Jones first, yep, and then Beth.
so just to clarify, that is one of the things about Edgenuity, or one of the good things about Edgenuity. They don't, depending on individual student circumstance, they don't have to be full courses. They're all standards aligned and standards based, so we can click off different standards. That's how we use it for winter school and credit recovery things. If a student needs a full course, when we're talking about that last sentence, the idea of a teacher unable to conduct in-person class, that would be if the student does not want to come to school or will not come to school, then that teacher can't go to that house to conduct that class. That also offers us the opportunity to offer one-off electives. So basically, if a student is sitting in counseling, they need their schedule filled, and the counselor says, well, we've got ceramics for you, or you can do digital photography. And the student says, well, I hate both. To fill their schedule, instead of having them sit somewhere where they're not doing anything for the period because we have to fill the schedule, or putting them in something they hate, we can have an approved list of courses that the student wouldn't typically be able to have because we don't have a teacher to teach that course because it's a one-off, but then they can take that course. So they spend that time learning a different skill or a new skill at the time. So that's where that sentence comes in when you're talking about a teacher not being there.
Okay.
Just as a follow-up, I mean, I understand, but that to me would be an independent study situation, not a stick them on Edgenuity situation. So I understand, but I still think that it's very broadly worded, and I would be more comfortable if we did not move forward with that, so, this time.
All right, Beth?
Dr. Jones, I have a question, because I don't know that much about it. So how is it monitored for grading and stuff by people here, physically people here?
Yeah, we have a coordinator that monitors it, and what happens is once we've decided that a student wants to go that route, the student agrees, the parent agrees, once we've decided that that route is the route that's going to be taken, we then forward the name to the coordinator that runs that and monitors that. And so that coordinator sets up the program inside of that by, like I said, checking off the different standards, checking off the courses that they need, because sometimes if a student is struggling with mental health or any other circumstance, sometimes they can only go to a couple classes a day. And so we'll do a half and half situation. Sometimes if they've had to go out for a hospitalization and they come back, but they've finished half the course or 3/4 of the course, we can give them those individual things. So that coordinator sets that up, and then they access it online anywhere, and then the coordinator monitors it and the counselor monitors it as well. And so the students will get sent updates. You've worked this long on it. This is your relative grade. This is the percentage that you've completed. It provides them how much they should be doing each day or a timeline so that they can stay on track with it and not fall behind.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Boyce?
And I think what you said is important, is that, you know, and not that we wouldn't think that this wouldn't happen, but it's parent approved. I mean, it's not something that you know, there's a bigger discussion, and it's what the parent would like for their child.
Correct.
That makes sense.
We have a discussion with the parent and with the student about it. And sometimes that's the option based on the student.
Yeah.
Okay, just to kind of clarify, so this doesn't replace anything, it's not a requirement, it's basically just another tool in the toolbox, like another option,
Yes.
right? It replaces nothing and no one's required to do it.
Correct.
So it's just another, it's something there if somebody needs it.
Correct.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Stephanie?
Dr. Jones, wasn't there discussion about when the current physical education teacher retires? Wasn't there discussion about taking the health teacher and putting them in the phys ed class and having the health students take Edgenuity online instead of replacing it with a teacher?
Did you want to?
Sure, if I may, Mr. Chair. Early in my tenure, Dr. Jones and I had a conversation about that exact topic, and we both agreed that Edgenuity can't do what a person can do, and so we posted for the position. While, sure, we're in a budget crisis, and that's the kind of thing that you don't necessarily do, or you might be able to use this because it's less expensive. We don't care. We're going to do what's best for the kids, so we posted for a person. And that, we're going to continue, we're going to continue to do that as long as I'm here.
And
Okay, Stephanie?
I appreciate that, and I know that was the direction you went in. I saw the posting, and I was glad of it. But this opens a door the way that it's worded right now, which is why I think it needs further review.
I would agree.
Sorry.
Oh, Chris?
You know, not to just throw my hat in and agree with what I've been, I do have a concern about the language there allowing a situation like what Ms. Blackman proposes, where we have a teaching vacancy and this, that, and the other, and the wording here, I think, allows the situation that we all agree here at the table, I think, is not acceptable. You know what I mean? And so I would like, I think I would agree that a policy review of this and cleaning up some language to make it, and you almost want this to be like, this is an option for the student, not for the school. You know what I mean? Like, if this is what works for the student and the student chooses this or the student needs this, that's the thing. I don't think this is something that we should offer as an option for the school to put in place to solve a teacher problem. Yeah.
Dr. Marcus?
Are there any other substantive issues that are of concern to the committee? And I ask that question because if not, and if that's the primary thing, because it needs to get voted on, you can vote for everything else and ask that the principal go back and revise it and come back to the school committee. So everything else is accepted minus that piece.
I would
Okay.
say that, thank you so much for, I see a really strong program, except, aside from that, I would, you did a great job and your committee did a great job. It would just be that one section, and I see things that I'm very impressed with, and so I would agree.
Works for me.
So, Dr. Jones, is there, I know you had, you wanted to highlight other things in here.
if the committee's fine with what they've read and they want to vote on it that way, then I don't need to stand up here and
Okay,
go through
all
all
right.
23 points.
Okay.
I
didn't know if there was anything you wanted to highlight in
And I
particular.
can talk to Dr. Marcus later about what that looks like, just taking that language piece out, because it is something we use, so whether it needs to be cleaned up and, it does seem to fall under the school committee policy for any substantive changes to the curriculum, because it delivers the curriculum, but the policy isn't clear on the delivery method, so, which allows us creativity, but we can talk about that later.
Is there a deadline, Dr. Jones? When does this need to be voted? So that you can
Voting
move
it
forward?
tonight would be fantastic, because in a couple of weeks, we go to the middle school and we start scheduling students for next year.
Oh, Chris.
So going back to Dr. Marcus's point, I don't think that having this online learning thing be still a subject for discussion would prevent the middle school from being able to sign up for any of the other courses that are available. So if it's allowable for the committee, my motion would be to accept this policy with the exception of point number 1, pending further policy review and revision.
I would second that.
And third it.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to say something. I love some of these new courses that you're offering.
I do
I think
too.
it
Yeah.
really
Really great
opens
job.
up for a lot of kids. The music part and everything that, you know, a lot of schools lose, and we're gaining some new things. I think it's really very interesting, and I wish I could go back and take a couple of these courses, I'll tell you.
A personal favorite of mine are changing the music courses and the art courses to honors credit, to honors level credit.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's great.
And just a point, it's because we have an increased staff, we just have very active
Yeah.
and committed
Committed
teachers
people
that are
to do
willing
these
to,
courses.
yeah.
Yes.
And I'll say as an English guy, the new English courses that have been added here are
Yeah.
very exciting. I was very pleased to see those.
The storytelling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to, that's why I wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to tout anything you thought was great, but there's a lot of great stuff in this
There really
catalog.
is.
Yeah,
We just
so-
started with the one that we,
Well, I want to address the elephant in the room first.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
great job.
Yeah. Mr. Boyce?
Dr. Jones, as like I have for the last 12 years, I am more than happy when we bring back WHRC, the Whitman-Hanson Radio Club, to either be a tutor or a mentor or an instructor or whatever. But it doesn't regard necessarily this. I always like to keep options open.
all right,
That's my annual plea.
there you go.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Thank you,
you very
Dr.
much.
Jones.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, enrollment data. It's more of a conversation or just a update. As we were looking at some information that had been potentially run in a way that it looked like our numbers at the high school weren't quite right, and we figured that out and all, but it caused me to go back through our actual numbers through Infinite Campus as well as on DESE, and notice a trend that is happening across the state. And I think it's worth noting, and it's worth talking about, and it came up in the budget subcommittee meeting about funding. So there's a trend in Whitman-Hanson, and I'll give you the specifics. In 2021, there were 3,583 kids. In 2022, it was 3,556, minus 30. In 2023, there were 3,539, minus 12-ish, 15. In 2024, there were 3,483. Keep going down, 2025, 3,457. And this year, our October SIMS data is 3,423. So there is a trend, slight, going down, that if you've been looking at, if you've been watching the local news, you'll see that that trend is actually happening across the state. And it's something that I think we need to sort of pay attention to as a district. It's something that I, as superintendent, take very seriously. I do want to say that there are various factors for those kinds of things, but But the most important piece is we're not alone. The district I live in Easton, where it's the same thing. The district I just came from, Norton, is the same thing. But it's worth noting, and I think it's important to understand those kinds of things and look at systemically for us as a leadership team, how we either deal with that trend or how we can sort of start to reverse that trend in some way, and recognize that, you know, that it's something that that other folks are dealing with as well. There was also a question about Chapter 70 funding. Chapter 70 is the state funding source. They typically look at the enrollment of a town or a school district, a regional district, and they base the funding on that number. We talked about in the budget subcommittee the important part of what's been happening for several years now, which is something called hold harmless. And the hold harmless provision ensures that whatever Chapter 70 funding we got last year will continue next year. Plus, is it always plus that extra? Okay, so I think that's an important piece, is that for folks who, you know, look at those kinds of trends and look at enrollment and say, you know, what's this going to mean for assessments or what we're going to get from the state or things like that. There's that key provision in state funding that won't affect us or that won't hurt us, called hold harmless, and I think that's important to know. So while this is important data, and it's something that the district is dealing with and other districts across the state are dealing with, there are some possibilities for really doing some good work, some creative work in addressing it, and also there's the good news that it won't affect our state funding. So I just wanted the committee to understand, and if there were any sort of questions or thoughts about that, I'm happy to sort of take those and bring them back to the team.
Ms. Blackman?
Is the enrollment going down because the number of births I know, like, I teach at Massasoit, and we saw a decrease in, you know, the number of students. Or is it that students are going elsewhere? And if it's that students are going elsewhere, if you could, at some future meeting if you could please bring us what those numbers are.
Sure.
For students going out to charter schools, vocational schools, things along those lines, I would appreciate that. I do recall at some point last year, I think we got data like that, but I'm just curious as to whether, is this because of birth rates, or is this because of people going different places and choosing different options? Do you know?
I think it's both.
We talked about it today. I don't know if Mr. Farrow or Dr. Siemschnevers, do you want to sort of speak to that at all, or should we just continue to look into it further? Yeah. Okay, so it's a great question, and we were theorizing today about, is it just birth rates? Is it, you know, going from elementary into middle, and there's a shift, you know, we start to lose people, or from middle to high school, where we start to see, and you're right, it's an area of opportunity that we can potentially do something about, but we'll get you that information.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Stafford?
So just to help out too, when we were going for the new building in Whitman Middle, we had very big discussions because we did not agree with the MSBA and their numbers and what they allow for the school, the size. And we felt, you know, that they were really undercutting the numbers.
Yeah.
And so we did our own research and found that the birth rate is going down here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was, we found, they're right. And the reason is because people tend to no longer have 3, 4 kids like in the past. They're having 1 or 2. But we were quite surprised at that point because we were concerned because, you know, we wanted to build the building at this much
Right,
and
right.
they said, nope, we're only gonna allow, and then we ended up with a in-between. But it was definitely something that we looked into
Yeah.
at that time, so not that long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, Rosemary?
I do think real facts need to be injected into this conversation. First of all, we've been in hold harmless for 30 years. That is a huge red flag. That is a very big red flag. That is highly unusual. Second of all, those numbers were done before we took on the MBTA Community Acts, so it's going to shift, hopefully. And additionally, there are documents that show percentage of rates. The documents are a little dated, but we could still utilize them, and it's the regional school audit. Susan Bump did it years ago, but they can be adapted, we can call the auditor. But historically, we have lost at much greater rates. I would ask to piggyback on what Ms. Blackman said and also look at private school. The numbers that you're talking about for declining enrollment have to do with property values. Property is more expensive, so parents are, and having children is expensive now. So parents are going to places that have, you're gonna have declining enrollment in Easton. You're gonna have declining enrollment in wealthier towns with the property values. But where the towns are more affordable, like Whitman, you shouldn't be seeing it at the higher rate. And so I think that we're gonna have to interject some more information into this if we're gonna have an honest conversation. 30 years, that is a red flag. No, that's not. It is something we are doing.
Okay. Mr. Marks?
You know, we had this, you talked a little bit about this last year too, with declining enrollment. And one of the thoughts out there was we are losing people to the trade schools. You know, I remember growing up, it was, you don't think about driving a truck like my dad, you're going to college.
Yeah.
And I did, and left as soon as I could, because it was awful, I hated
Back
it.
in the trades.
That was not my thing, went right back into the trades. And so, you know, the trades are experiencing decrease enrollment in the trades too, you know what I mean? And so that is something that this next generation of kids coming through school is going to be looking at this crossroads that they have of, okay, I can do what I want here and go to college, or I can do what I want here and join the trades. As it stands right now, we have some, you know, the career pathways and whatnot that we can accommodate and keep those kids within district. And I understand that our agreements with different trade schools and whatnot, we can't offer a trade program. If I remember it correctly, we can't overlap a trade here that somebody else that we are a member town of. But there are a multitude of CTE programs out there that are not covered at, you know, our member schools. And so I would like to see, you know, I know we're putting a lot of play, you know, let's talk about getting the schools in, the buses in faster. Let's add this to the policy. But like, I would like to see an honest talk about, you know, what CTE programs are available that we do have the option to put out there, and maybe entice some of those kids who are going to be ripe for the trades, you know what I mean, and into staying here and participating in those trades here through programs that we build, and those programs have the opportunity to bring in revenue in ways from bringing people from other areas that don't have that access to as well, so.
Chapter 74 programs
Goes up.
gives more aid as well. Just-
Ms. Blackman?
It's funny, I was actually looking at some of those programs, and there are probably things that we have the ability, there's a graphic design, we have a fantastic, you know, graphic arts program here at the high school. So I do think that that's something, but that's not something that we can institute between now and next year. It would have to be a year down the road. However, Dr. Marcus, I will mention, we had talked at one point, South Shore VOTEC, for instance, goes to our middle school, picks up any students who might be interested in going and taking a tour. And we had talked at one point last year about possibly doing that for students who might be interested in the career pathways programs that we offer.
Gotcha.
I understand it would be a lot to have students come from the middle school, every student from the 8th grade or from the middle school come during classes, but that was something that we had talked about at one point last year, just getting those students who might be interested in what we can offer.
Sure.
So, just so you know.
Could you build that into the orientation when they're already coming in to the building from the 8th grade and they're coming to take a look? Could you build part of that package in there so they're already here, the building's already kind of prepared for that?
Yeah.
Also, the Whitman building, so MSBA always undercut the numbers, but part of what they do is they build the building based upon the number you give them as being an 80% occupancy of the building. So there's always the ability to grow as a community and not kind of crush that number. And yeah, there is declining enrollment across the state, if not the country, but I do think that the point is well taken, that there are many, especially in a community like this where they have the option on the school choice to go wherever they want. Selling the school is a much bigger deal than in a community where school choice is not an option.
Ms. Blackman?
And I do agree, like, we definitely need to package it for the orientation night that we have, but I think that there's something special about seeing the program. I don't hate me, I went to Spelman, so, but, I know, but, at this time, but I actually came to, and spent a day with another student at Whitman-Hanson getting the lay of the land, and it was a very enjoyable thing. So I think that type of, whatever we can do to get students to understand we have opportunities here, then that's what's best for the students.
That was in the old building. It's
I-
even
okay.
nicer.
All right. Mr.
So
Marks.
I also don't want to seem all doom and gloom about this because, you know, I think that, you know, this course guide and whatnot here is a huge selling point. I mentioned before, I grew up in Weymouth, which we had a lot of very arts and humanities heavy programs. Our course book didn't scratch this. We have some incredible, you know, my heart is always going to flow towards the music. My son is a big part of the music program here. I think Mr. Daigle, Mr. Rowe are, you know, amazing educators, and they're very similar to the young, energized and you know, driven educators that I ran into my first year at Weymouth High. And so there's a lot of parallels there, but they have a much bigger course book from which to pick from, and that's fantastic. So yes, I think that CTE programs are great, but the program that you already have is really good too. And I think that marketing what we already do can be done better. I know my son, when he first came here, his 8th grade year, went to that orientation night and went and saw all these different classes, and he came back and his eyes were spinning in his head. He didn't know what to do. And so it's like, no, yeah, it's not just sit in the classroom and reading, writing, arithmetic. There are so many cool things that you can do while still learning. And I think he found out about it when he got here, when he'd already made the decision he was coming here. But I wonder how many kids don't know about this stuff and say, oh, well, I don't know if, you know, this is exactly what I want to do. Let me look outside of the district. Let me look at the trade schools. Let me look at private schools or charter schools, whatever, without having seen that, oh my God, this is a really interesting, really, you know, diverse course book that is worth my time, is worth me checking it out here.
All right.
Great. Next on the agenda, we actually need a formal vote in order to appoint the acting superintendent as our rep to the Reeds, the North River, and the South Shore Collaboratives, as well as the Whitman Middle School Building Committee. So that's just to formalize letting me do more work.
Second.
Hold on.
Oh,
It wasn't me.
Don't have to worry about it.
Who said that?
That was
TJ,
Mr. Ralphie.
it's always the vice chair.
it's all right.
Slow down.
We got it. You know.
We're pushing you through.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion?
So, we welcome you, of course, I want to just be clear on something because I have to bring it up for our minutes from December 3rd. Just a little miswording is, and I think I mentioned this before, North River Collaborative used to be based on a representative like myself, someone from each school district, and we voted because of concerns with a few superintendents that have, our member towns, we voted to make it a superintendent-based. So there'll be one correction. But I always like to mention that because it is a board of directors that you are sitting on, and sometimes you're even sitting in as a board of trustees when you're voting things that the trustee meeting, as we do with Pilgrim Area Collaborative. So congratulations on those, once we vote.
We haven't voted yet.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know. And the Whitman Middle School, of course,
Yeah.
you'd be more than welcome.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Okay, all right, any other discussions? We do a first and a second on the floor, so all in favor of, all right. Okay, yes.
Next, business manager update. As you know, for the last few months, the district has been using the services of TMS. We also have been very fortunate to continue to have Mr. Stanbrook helping us with audits and all other business-related questions and work. At this time, and I would say at this time, meaning about 3 months ago, we really need to have an actual business manager. We have been searching for somebody. We posted the position as per school committee's request, and through that, the Director of Special Education and Mr. Farrow and I interviewed. We were supposed to interview 2 people. One person backed out, unfortunately, for family reasons. We interviewed the second person, awesome, but we were still continuing to look, and through other contacts, we are trying to find somebody. At this point, as of a couple days ago, we interviewed a person who has been a business manager in a number of different districts. I have worked with this person, and we're looking at now the potential, and I will have something further for you to be able to vote on at the next meeting. But I believe that this individual is willing to take on the position as an interim, and then to look at, for the committee, the superintendent, and that individual, to see if it's a fit, and then potentially move forward as a permanent position. The benefit to the notion of an interim for the rest of the year is that you have a very skilled, affable, smart individual who we can rely on, who can come in and look at our business office, business practices, and the budget, both landing 26 and launching 27, and work with us in order to be able to make that happen. So I'm hoping that shortly I'm able to bring the name of the individual and the other particulars to the committee so that we can move forward.
Excellent. Mr. Boyce.
Do you mind if I ask, John, would we retain TMS for a period of time as like a kind of a cover over? I don't know what our contract was necessarily that.
The
For how
contract allows us to add 1 month additional at a time.
Okay,
Depending upon how quickly we can move on this individual, I'm not sure we need to do that, but realistically, given that the next meeting is the 28th, sort of puts us out 2 weeks and then puts us into February, so it might be another month extension.
okay, thank you.
Again, assuming the committee is okay with the choice.
John, just a question. you mentioned the audits. Do we finally get the letter for 2023?
Yes,
Yeah,
22 and 23 done.
And
sealed.
24 is being worked on?
24, there were 60,
64 of the 80 items that have been requested have been sent. All 64 were sent originally, now they're coming back with individual questions.
Okay.
yeah, so we were all the way up to date until they asked for 10 more things on Monday.
Always do.
And we've done 4 of those, so 6 to go. And so that's as done as it can get. The other important piece is that the end-of-year report for 2025 was long overdue, and with a lot of hard work over the last week, we were able to get that done and submitted on Monday. So that's put to bed, so that's huge.
Check that off. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Any other, oh, Warren. Oh, sorry, and then Chris, I'm sorry.
Good.
The audit report being turned in late can have an impact on the Chapter 70 funding and the money coming. Have you got any confirmation that that money's all set, or will there be fines?
That was one of the things that I quote-unquote woke up to on January 2nd, is that the potential for Chapter 70 to be withheld because of the lateness of it wasn't the audit, it was the end of the year report.
Yep.
And lucky me, I was able to speak to Jay Sullivan, who's a great guy at DESE, and explain the situation. Obviously, we are in a unique situation of transition and all that. And we were able to make a promise that we would have it done by tonight. And we had it done by Monday, and they were pleased, and everything is fine, and the Chapter 70 money is in. So we're good.
Mr. Boyce.
I'm sorry, just one more thing. We got an email, I get the email from the Division of Local Services that January local aid payments are arriving early. I don't know if that pertains to regional schools and so forth, I would assume. But the Bureau of Local Payments, BPL, will process monthly local aid earlier than usual for the month of January.
Mr. Chair, if I...
Yep.
So I was informed by Marilyn Thompson, who's our treasurer, that we should expect it 2 weeks early. The reason being is that there's a change in software at the state level, so that's why they're trying to do it. So in case there's bugs or whatever takes place and it doesn't go, they'll still be able to get it to you on time. But so that's what I heard as of yesterday when Marilyn updated.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Chris.
I don't have my laptop, so I can't go back and double check, but when did we originally sign with TMS? Was that September?
Yes.
So the 6-month original term that we had would be through?
January 31st.
Oh, we did it to January, it was not a 6-month thing, okay.
Yeah.
I got you, okay. And then, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just acknowledging him.
Yeah, got you, okay.
So he doesn't get grumpy.
What is the status of the, munis reporting? It's been, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it's been a couple of meetings, I think, since we've had any financials to review and evaluate. And in the current financial situation, that's concerning.
That's E. I got you.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rocky.
Is that end-of-year report something that could be shared with us?
I'm sure it can. It's incredibly arcane because it's basically filling in a ton of Excel bubbles for all kinds of, specifics about things, but I'm sure we can, I think, print it out, maybe?
Excel document, I'm sure that
Yeah.
it's an Excel document. Because in its Excel form is what I had to upload from Mr. Hyde.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll get that.
You don't have to print it.
Please don't
Okay.
print it.
Especially not in
Okay.
color, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on D? Did I miss anybody? Okay.
All right, so last thing for me is the budget update, to your questions about where we at, what's going on, how we doing. And I'm certainly happy to have members of the budget subcommittee step in and explain anything that I'm missing. And I do have documentation, I think, because, and I apologize, I know from my past superintendent district that they liked to get everything in the packet 2 days in advance, so handing stuff out at the meeting made people crazy. I have a hunch that's probably true here too, so I apologize if that is the case. And I want to also make sure that we're publicly transparent so that, you know, things that are at the meeting are going out. But as you know, we are fast and furious, like every minute of the day, running and trying to work on those three things: finishing all the stuff for 25, making sure that 26 is going to land correctly, and having an FY27 budget for you all at the very latest by the February 4th presentation. But really, my hope would be that it's before that, so that you have a chance to really look at it, ask a lot of questions, and reflect. So, so it's been hard to, I think, you know, as we're scrambling to make sure that all of the stuff that we're getting is going back out to you all. So I will get everything to you, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware of some of the specifics. So if it's okay, Mr. Chair, may I hand out the deficit calculation sheet that the budget subcommittee
Yes.
saw?
Yep.
Excuse me.
What?
No, never mind.
Thank you.
So that's-
Just the one sheet?
Yeah, it's just one sheet, and it,
You don't want one, TJ?
I have it from the
Okay.
clock.
Okay. Extra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay, so,
Oh, and, sorry, Dr. Marcus. So I know, some people I know came to the budget subcommittee, and this was projected there. If people are interested, we'll make sure this gets up on the website so people can view this as well. I know it's difficult to hear numbers spoken out loud and not see them, but this is kind of a, I don't say it's, last minute, it seems pejorative, but this is obviously an up-to-the-date
Right.
kind of document, so,
no, and that's not what I like to do. It's just, you know, we're at scramble, and trying to learn everything as we go, or I'm trying to learn everything as we go. So, yes, this next time will be in the packet ahead of time, so you can really look at it and the public can see it more clearly. Okay, so what you see in front of you is a whole lot of numbers that are sort of pluses and minuses. The step one piece is sort of what we were carrying forward, the $362,000 still sort of in the hole, so to speak. The step two are additional things that we've had to pay for. You add those two up and you get to 907. I'm not going to sort of go too much into detail because it's really the bottom line that matters. So step four is actual additional revenue that came in, so that's a plus of $367,000. Step five then are potential also additional revenues that are coming in through a variety of grants, which is $673,000. That all adds up to about $1 million. From that, there's an estimate. Step six is an estimate of money that isn't spent in FY26 and taking that 20% off of the remainder, which is $134,000 that you see there. So That puts it back at 906 as on the plus side, but don't get too happy. Then the next piece is we have a very slight payroll deficit that you see in there, the 1417, and then the 162 is what we're dealing with in terms of the unemployment costs because of the actual reduction in force from November. And you'll see when we flip over, it's a little bit different than the overall unemployment. So that's specific to the unemployment that was generated because of the cuts in November. The positive piece of that, as we talked about in the Budget Subcommittee, is that thank goodness folks are able to have been finding positions, some because we're recalling paraprofessionals, some because folks have gone to other districts, things like that. And so that figure of unemployment is not as bad as we initially anticipated. So that's, even though it's still 162, I think initially anticipated it was going to be a lot worse. The next line down is unemployment, but that's overall. So that's your overall unemployment figure for the district. And then keep going, flip over to the next page, and you'll see all of those additional things from circuit breaker, special education assessments, school choice assessments, charter school assessments. All those are reductions or costs that then brings us down to the less happy place of being in the hole by 1.197 million. However, we also have in step 10 revenue sources, and there's a little bit more to this than what you see here, so I'll explain that. We've been talking about using additional monies from somewhere that I'm not allowed to say those letters, but let's just say that someday there's going to be $600,000 available in a positive. Along with that notion of hopefully that being available, we have been working incredibly hard at looking at the 26 budget literally every day and looking at all the areas that we possibly can to freeze, hold back, not spend in any way possible so that money is held and then can help us to be able to move forward into 27 without overspending the credit card as we've been doing. So we cannot go into 27 and go, yeah, well, there's that 600, we gotta deal with that. We're not gonna do that. So what we need to do, what we've been doing in order to land 26 on the nose or even in the black, is to keep holding back all of those sort of frozen accounts, add them up, and at the very moment we're at around, is it 554, Ms. Farrow? So we're at around 554,000 that we are able to sort of hold on to and help us at the end of the year not roll that money forward, not necessarily look at emergency funds. So we'll see how well we do with that. But that is out there, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's something that I think will hold us in good stead. And then you see additional things about the Chapter 70 increase, that the budget was built on $25,900,000, and not unusually, there's that increase of $258,000. That's an increase in the revenue that we're not immediately putting toward a particular item. We're using that to help with the budget. There's an additional $55,000 in charter school reimbursement, which obviously is offset above. And then there's an estimate of approximately $310,000 additional dollars in interest, which is a complicated piece that has to do with the financing for the middle school as a part of it, and the band, and us getting the money back, and all that. So it's a reasonable expectation that would be around 310. So that gets you to that 1.2 million. And when you subtract that 1.2 million in additional revenues from the 1.197 in additional costs, you end up in the black at $26,000.
Nice.
So, with all that, you still have step 11, which are sort of question marks. And step 11, I think the interesting thing is that, you have 4 question marks in there. There's probably about 50. There's a whole bunch of things that are still potentially question marks, like snow. It needs to stop snowing. Or better, it needs to stop icing, because that's the cost, right? So those kinds of things we need to keep saying to global warming, come on, you've got this.
Roll the dice.
So along with that, these particular things, there are other potential unknowns. And so there isn't a specific number in there. Some of them I think we're going to come in just fine, and some of them, I'm not sure. So we'll see. I did hear at the Budget Subcommittee meeting, one of the big questions I had was about Chapter 71 regional transportation. And with the submission Monday, it was about 1.5 million requested, and if we're at 85% of that, then that 1.239 that we had budgeted for should be fine. So that was nice to hear. I did not know that till today. And so there's the potential, but at the very moment, without the hard work of Mr. Farrow and the folks in central office clawing back and being careful about a bunch of lines, without that, we're 26,000 ahead. Using that money if we can hold on to it, it's not a happy ta-da. What that money is going to be used for is to be able to take care of the things that we overextended ourselves on this year, put them away so that we can move forward in 27 and not have to continue to carry $600,000-$700,000 in debt. So I think that's a critical piece, is that we're certainly in the black. We're potentially in the black even better, but I'm not looking at being in the black even better as, oh, good, we're going to be able to get a whole bunch of stuff back. It's, we're going to be able to actually take care of stuff that we weren't taking care of before by using the freeze and the money that we're holding on to in order to take care of those things now, so that we're not doing it again. So that's 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can we clap at this point? A tentative clap?
As I said, I often get applause.
Once we fill up that E&D.
Okay, Mr. Marks.
I have a question and a statement. So my question would be, this step 11 numbers here.
Yeah.
Those numbers being in the budget mean that if they come in less than what is here,
Yes.
that would decrease this general fund surplus, the 26K at the end. So if we
Yes.
don't end up getting the majority of it is the Chapter 71.
Right.
So if we don't end up getting the 1.2,
Right. And
that obviously impacts that number,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as I said, the good news is that it looks like that, as of today,
Yep.
it looks like that number is correct.
Yep, okay, that's great. And then I do just want to back up a little bit to, not something specific you said about these numbers here, but just kind of There was something in your, you know, I'm not gonna worry about getting into too much of the detail. It's the bottom line that matters. I think that mentality is what got us into this trouble in the first place. What we got was the bottom line was the only thing that matters.
Right.
And everything up above, don't worry, we'll make it clean, we'll clean it, we'll make it work.
Yep, no, I hear you.
And we didn't. And
Yeah.
I don't think that that is a healthy mentality for us to have
Yep.
in this situation that we're in. So I just wanted to
No, and if,
couch that a little bit.
may I clarify?
Absolutely.
So I think what I meant by that phrasing is that I don't necessarily want to get into all of the detail at this very moment, you know, in this particular forum. That being said, and I've said this many, many times, there is no way that we can move forward and land this year without looking at every single line all the time. And you all need to get a budget for FY '27 that is incredibly detailed, that you can look at every single line and say, huh, what's this? So we owe that to you. The communities expect that. And you are 100% right that there is no, oh, I don't know, we'll figure that out later. You're right, and I'm not, yeah. The only reason I said not getting into too much of the detail is just for the purposes of this update.
Yep.
Presentation.
Totally understand. Thank you.
So, Ms. Blackman and then Ms. Hill.
So I'm just curious, with step 2, the numbers that are there are very nice, big, round numbers, which seems very odd to me that retirement payouts are a nice round number. Longevity is a nice round number.
Yep.
For, you know, stipends not in payroll run out, which I'd still love an answer as to when stipends get, you know, actually paid out. But again, big round numbers. I have difficulty at this point in my school committee career believing in big round numbers. So I'd like to know if that's a
Says estimate.
around, or if this is an accurate
They're-
calculation.
Yeah, they're absolutely estimates, because you're looking at you're extrapolating from up to, what is it, December 31st. So you're looking at what have we paid up to December 31st, and then extrapolating that out until June 30th.
Okay.
So I hear you, because
Not
believe me, we looked at it, when I was over there and listening, I was like, oh, wait a second, what is that big number? So I think they are estimates, they are extrapolations. We might be able to get down to an estimate that's, within 1,000, 3,000, something like that, but I don't know that you can take every single one of those lines and know between now and the end of the year exactly what that number is going to be. We can do better, and we can give you more specifics so that it doesn't feel so weird to look at such big numbers, but it's still going to be an estimate.
If somebody wants to provide me with a list of all the stipended positions, I'm happy to calculate them for you. But, I mean, like, it's just, that to me is not a number that should have been a guesstimate. We should know exactly how much in stipends we're paying out for the year. So, I'm sorry, I know I'm sounding
No, that's
like a
okay.
turkey, but,
I totally get it. I think one of the tricky things is the activity going to run? If it doesn't run, and I tell you that it's going to cost $18,000, and now it isn't there, or it is there, so it is trying to sort of guess at exactly what those are going to be. So stipend right now, there's obviously year-long stipends, so we know about that. That's easy. But then there are other things, clubs, activities, a variety of different things that may or may not happen, but we're taking our best guess. But I hear what you're saying, and I feel like we can get more clarity on this as soon as possible so that you're not feeling icky about such big round numbers.
Shouldn't we plan to run every club and activity, and then if we don't, we have money left over, rather than, I mean, we're not gonna say to the kids who wanna, I mean, I'll pick on chess club, because my kids did chess club, like, we're not gonna say, oh, sorry, kids, we're out of stipend money, no chess club. I mean, you know, so I would expect, and I know you're stepping into this isn't your plan, but at the same time, I would expect there is a list someplace that exists of every stipended position that could possibly need to run, and that we should be able to say, this is how much it would take if everything ran. And we should be budgeting for that, because quite frankly, our kids and these extracurricular activities and things are the lifeblood for some. My son, who didn't come to school a lot of days, would come for chess club. So, I mean, it's really important to me that when we can give the details, we give the details, and this just falls short right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Hill.
Thank you. Just to clarify, because the conversation there was a percentage, you weren't at the first budget subcommittee, but there was a conversation about there is a regular percentage each year that's left over that isn't used, and I think they built that number in, if I remember
Yes.
correctly. So he basically used a number and then built a broad number and built in a percentage to reduce it at that rate. So there was an assumption of all of the money being used, if I'm correct. This is what it was up, and then there was a percentage that they sort of said we might have wiggle room here, and I don't know how that reflects on those numbers. But I wanted to add, and I'm speaking in terms of, I wanted to add to some of our conversations, to maybe some people just watch this meeting, as it relates to some questions that happened on town hall floor about our bond rating and things that make us stable. And you get a bond rating because you are mitigating risk. And some of the things that Dr. Marcus talked about was, and I don't, you know, we have extra money, we don't.
No.
And because we don't have our E&D, and I think Warren had spoken about, was it circuit breaker, and that we need to start to really looking at those very not having those in place puts a lot of risk. So as we build that, we're going to be mitigating risk, which will also turn over and increase, it would help our bond rating.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that because it's a couple of meetings
Yeah.
together.
Okay, Warren?
Yeah, sorry, you kind of touched on what I was about to say. It is important to know that when the 27 budget is built, there's obviously the education that needs to be in there.
Yeah.
But we also have to kind of somewhat future-proof that by spending out the circuit breaker, by having nothing in that account, that really puts us in a risky place. And that is not the type of risk that I ever want to be talking to the town of Whitman-Hanson because something happened that was out of our control, and now we just had nowhere to fall. So the budget also must have the ability to start to rebuild E&D, circuit breaker, things like that, because that would really put us in a place where we can handle a typical fluctuation that happens in a school year without having to come back and do these things. And I know that was part of our discussion during the subcommittee, but I just wanted to say that in front of everybody, that a good budget would have to include kind of those stabilization forces.
The ability, flexibility
Yeah.
between things that we have to do.
If I may?
Yep.
And so part of what I was talking about in the budget subcommittee is exactly that, which is that we're, you know, things are looking better. We're working incredibly hard to make sure that we continue on that path, but we still have, it's still tough. This is still a difficult financial situation. And when you look at health insurance costs at 15%, you look at transportation costs at 10, 20, 15, whatever percent, there's a lot there that we have to manage with the limited resources, limited additional resources that are coming in. And so I think to your point, the idea is we don't ever want to do this again. We don't ever want to be in a position where we're in September going, oh, Lord, we did it again. We overspent the credit card. So it is my profound mission to ensure that what we present to you soon is future-proofing. I love that word, because we have to be able to sustain what it is that we're saying we're going to buy, and not just willy-nilly jump over. And now, that doesn't mean that we don't come forward and say, okay, we're going to have to deal with, these difficult decisions and look at, a variety of things. But as I said to the budget subcommittee, and we talked about today in the leadership team, in a very frank, very long, difficult conversation, is we're not doing what we did again in terms of how we had to. There wasn't any choice. But what we had to do in November in terms of how it affected the classroom and the life of children, that's not going to happen. As much as humanly possible, we need to avoid that and come up with reasonable kinds of things that are still going to provide the best possible education for our kids. So it's not easy. And I think I also talked about, so we're gonna see that, but then I think it's also important for us to look at the possibility of, well, but if we were able to fight on the town meeting floor, and we were able to get them to go from 5% to 8%, what would that look like? And so it's important that you have that as well. As a consideration. And again, it's your charge to me to go forward with what the committee deems as appropriate and viable. It's our job to bring you a budget that is sustainable and strong and keeps the life of our kids in a really wonderful way. So.
Ms. Blackman and then Mr. Boyce.
Not to put more work on anyone's plate necessarily, but I believe that last year Hanover, when the schools were going for the override, they actually gave two different options to the public on the meeting floor. And they said, this is what option 1 looks like, and for this much additional, this is what option 2 looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that we might be able to talk to town administrators about or whatever. I think too often people look at a big number and they're not looking at what that means individually, although I know there are a lot of people who struggle, and I know that in the past year there have been programs that have started, at least in Whitman, to help people who are having struggles with their funding. But seeing, what that extra percentage or whatever it would be buys for the district,
Yep.
which might be money that keeps, a program that keeps kids here instead of going elsewhere, I think that might be a worthwhile thing for us to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for the shout out to my other committee, the Whitman Aid to the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund, which I'm also the chair of.
I knew I'd heard of it someplace.
But Mr. Marcus, if you want to, I know I just cut you off, I apologize.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, weren't you the chair of the Whitman?
Yes.
I'm also the chair of the Whitman Community Preservation Committee, yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I,
You're
I know,
chair of everything.
yeah, so, Mr. Boyce.
And I'm also the chair of the Whitman Capital Committee.
Very nice.
Oh, sorry, but that isn't what I was going
Yes.
to say. I'm glad the superintendent said overspending the credit card, because I've just been waiting for us to have that opportunity to make sure people know we did not lose money.
Thank you.
No.
They think it was misplaced,
Sure.
they think it was,
No,
we were out Christmas shopping, I don't know. I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth.
no.
I have a great
Groceries
deal
got
of
more
respect for
expensive
these
than
folks.
we could afford.
Yes.
We still needed the groceries, though.
We still needed right, exactly.
The price just
And we didn't have a food bank where we could go to get that and to fix or remedy our issues. Thank you.
Warren?
In response to Ms. Blackman,
Yes.
the two options, obviously, you're talking about if an override is put on the table, there's two potential override options. There's a lot of debate on whether that is an appropriate path or not, because there's a lot of conversation out there. There are people who believe that the initial override was failed because there were choices. I'm not saying I would vote against it, but I think there's a lot of conversation that would need to be had, because there are many people who believe that the two options splits the vote.
Sure.
And therefore, if you've got, 60% of people want it and 30% vote for each one, and then 40% say no, then you don't have anything. So there's a lot of debate whether it's an appropriate.
Just an idea. So just throwing it out for people who know better than me to explore. So, thank you.
All right, anything? All right. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Dr. Marcus? Or
Just
your budget update?
brief song that I'd like to sing from,
It's not,
right.
oops, I did it again.
Good one. Very good.
That was very good, Stephanie.
10 points.
Very good. Yeah, you get a check for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clock it.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Marcus. So next up, I just want to approval of meeting minutes for December 3rd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Oh, Chris?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I
Oh,
was just going to say, I think we had an adjustment that Mr. Boyce wanted to make to, was it the
Thank you.
December 3rd one?
You're so nice to me.
Who's gonna do it?
My buddy.
Yeah, so it was for December 3rd.
Okay.
And it is under Pilgrim Area Collaborative. I think I might have spoke too fast or used that Boston accent that all the presidential libraries across the country keep telling me I have. I don't think I do. But under Pilgrim Area Collaborative, Mr. Boyce reported that superintendent-based memberships, and that was something I was talking about as a side to North River Collaborative. So we can take out the superintendent-based memberships word, but Mr. Boyce reported that Pilgrim Area Collaborative, regular meeting updates on programs, budgets, audit. So the rest of it is fine, but some way to sort of massage that piece out. And then number 2 was the resignation from the Hanson seat, Hanson. That's all.
Maybe
Okay.
someone from Hanson would have caught that.
Okay.
TJ's been busy.
Okay. Chris?
Sorry, I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
If we misspeak, that is not means for changing the minutes, correct? That's just we misspoke. The minutes are recording what was actually said at the meeting. So if we
Okay.
did say that that was, an
So it
incorrect
has
piece of
to stay.
information, that would stay in the minutes.
Yes.
We can then correct it in this week's minutes when we talk
Yeah,
about
you
it, blah,
can.
blah, blah, correct?
If that were true, Ryan wouldn't have to apologize every time.
I know.
So
It keeps
I just
me humble,
wanted to- I just
yeah.
wanted to clarify
Okay.
that.
Got it.
Okay. Any other discussion on December 3rd? Okay. All in favor?
Abstain.
Okay. And Warren abstains. All right, December 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion of December 17th? Okay, all in favor?
Yes,
You were here.
for that.
Yep, that was your.
I'm pretty sure you were here for the third, too, but, you know.
Okay, thank you guys very much. We're going to move on to subcommittee reports, starting with Policy Subcommittee with Ms. Blackman.
Okay, thank you. So, policy, has been busy. We, had our last meeting, last Wednesday. One of the first things that we did was we looked at the letters from volunteers for the Policy Advisory Group. There were 6 people in total who volunteered. I am thrilled to say that we have a high school teacher, we have a couple of people who have who are mental health professionals, we have people from Whitman, we have people from Hanson. It's a great variety of people. The only category that we did not get somebody for, and we are still hoping to, is somebody at the elementary level, pre-K through 6, I guess, 5, I guess. That is kind of open, but other than that,
Yeah, I was going to say,
okay, fantastic. All right, see what happens when you come to meetings, you get volunteered. I would just like, you all have a copy of the list of people who volunteered. If you're okay with this, what I'd like to do is, I'll email them tomorrow and say, congratulations, welcome aboard, and I'll work with them on creating a schedule for when they are able to meet, and we can get to work on some of the other items. Are there any questions or
I
concerns?
think to motion that you're allowed to pick, within the subcommittee, you're allowed to structure independently? Would that be, that we wouldn't have to approve those people?
I mean, I think we can,
We can approve them, but in
yeah.
terms of what if somebody leaves and they have to replace that person?
I think, I would say probably in that case, we probably wouldn't need to come to the full committee to get a replacement, but I think because this is an inaugural thing doing, I think, and we have, you know, and we did, I think we also said that we would do that, so I think I want to stick with that.
I think Ryan actually just kind of said that we would do that, not me.
Yeah, I know,
That
all right,
wasn't
yeah.
on my, that wasn't part of me, but.
All right, I gotta add to the list of apologies for next meeting.
That's all right, yeah.
Apologize to Ms. Blackman.
That's all right.
Okay.
You can do that
But
anytime.
I take your
We
point.
see each other at plenty of policy
Just
meetings.
just as a chair of the committee, I do want to give as much autonomy to the subcommittees as possible, because I think, first of all, we're all equal members of this committee, and so I think that, you know, when we have these subcommittees, I want to charge you with that. Also, although I am on pretty much all the subcommittees, I do, not having to check all the work of the subcommittees makes it a little bit less work for me too. So I think that I want to trust the subcommittees and the chairs of those subcommittees to kind of, you know, be able to handle their subcommittees, because I think that you guys are all capable of doing that. But like I said, I apparently said we would bring this to the full committee against, you know, even though I'm not the chair of the policy advisory group. So I think if people don't mind, we can vote for this one. But I think Ms. Hill brings up a good point. Like, especially with an advisory group of citizens, there are going to be people who are going to be like, oh, I can't make it, I can't do this, you know. And then there might be somebody, you know, we had other people that kind of sent in things that were later, that, so we could be able to reach out to them and be like, you know, hey, we have an opening, and not have to come to the committee every time for that thing. But I think because this is the first time we're establishing this, and because I said it, I think if we could get a vote from the committee, I think that would be good. Mr. Ralphie?
I would just like to point out that we have a policy that requires advisory committee members to be appointed by the school committee.
Okay. All right, so,
Advisory.
Apologize to TJ for next week.
okay, yeah, I gotta thank TJ now, thank him now.
Policy requires what?
That they be appointed by us.
Yeah.
That
we vote.
the advisory group be approved by the full committee, but not.
Appointments to such committees will be made by the committee. Appointment of staff members to such committees will be made by the school committee upon recommendation of the superintendent.
Okay, he's right.
Okay.
I'll write my apologies.
All right, so now I don't have to apologize to Stephanie next week. This is getting better all the time. All right. So we will,
Okay, so moved.
so moved, okay. But I'll let Ms. Black continue, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Do this first, though? Should we
So,
do this
yes,
first?
Yep. yes.
Okay,
Second.
so moved, and second, okay.
Okay. Any discussion? Oh,
Just a quick thank you to everybody who has.
Who has volunteered.
Who has
Yes.
volunteered.
Yes.
Yep.
Welcome to somewhat thankless job at times, but thank you. I'll thank you
Yeah.
if nobody else will.
okay.
Okay,
Any other discussion?
okay,
Next, you have the next.
Okay. So all in favor?
okay.
Okay.
Okay, continuing on with policy. So, last week, at our meeting, we did review, 8 policies. The first 3, we determined, what is in red is the current Whitman-Hanson School Committee policy. What is in black is the, mask version. For these first 3, we decided that we would recommend the committee consider switching over to the mask version. This is a reading item. This is week 1 of the reading item, so you get 2 more times that we meet before you have to make a decision about it. But just so that I'm clear, there were, like I said, there were 8. There is another item that it turns out the school committee actually approved and updated. It's AD was updated and approved by the full school committee last year or the year before. It just wasn't in the new online version, so I know Jen was following up on that. And then the other 4 items are things that were just too much for us to say, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and approve these, yes.
Just clarifying, the red is what you want to switch from or switch to?
Red is existing, black would
Is where we want to
replace.
go to?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So that was it. We decided that, at the next meeting, Mr. Trestle and I are, because we are the only members at the moment of the policy subcommittee, we are going to discuss the next 10 policies, and review those. And our next meeting is on January 28th at 5 o'clock. The other thing that I am going to mention, and let me see. There were policies that we presented after the first meeting. And I apologize, because I did come nicely prepared, but apparently my printer decided to stop printing halfway down the page. But there were, actually, I think I have it with me. There were 4 other policies that were presented back in November. They are the artificial intelligence acceptable use policy, the access to digital resources, help me out.
Because the only one we voted on was the one we had to.
So the only one that we actually voted on was the
Competency determination?
competency determination. Thank you. I'm sorry, it's getting past my bedtime here apparently. So, anyway, so technically, you had those, we all had those for the first reading back in November. We forgot about, we kind of have had other things going on, so I'm going to ask that we add those in to the reading, to the packet for next meeting as a second read and then a third read, just to keep things moving along. And I do appreciate the idea of autonomy in the in the subcommittees, because quite frankly, there's a lot of policies to review, for instance, and if I have to come back to the full committee every time we want to do anything, it's going to take forever. So I think that maybe one of the policies we'll try to work on is making sure that there's some level of autonomy and also some level of responsibility back.
Right. And I also say, and just to clarify, any change to the policy would obviously come before the full committee, but to vote, but I know that you know, but I just wanted to make that clear. Ms. Hill?
There was a House Bill 666, horrible number for House Bill, but that was the cell phone act for cell phones in schools. Have we, and I think it's kind of running through the legislation, and probably might be lost, and we have a policy that we've enacted for our students for that, particularly because it was mentioned mental health, and it, the research says that it really does affect children's mental health in a learning safe space. So, and I think
You have the handbooks, oops, sorry.
That's right, no, go, absolutely.
You have the handbooks, and each of the handbooks has a protocol. The high school handbook, as you know, you vote on, and so that ostensibly is policy. The other handbooks, it's protocol, procedure, and it's spelled out sort of what is and isn't allowed in terms of those. I'm wondering, are you talking about potentially either adopting an MASC policy or creating a policy that would go on their website from this particular school committee about that concept?
Yeah, it's something that addresses and shifts, makes almost a sanctuary space, in line with what the law and the laws are sort of asking for us to create an educational space free from the potential of online bullying during class, the potential of distraction, and really making sure that when paying for a teacher in a classroom, that teacher is not, rallying up cell phones, but actually teaching, so.
Is that HB 666?
Yeah, it was a House Bill 666, it's a horrible number, but you can read it, but maybe something in line with that.
Yeah, what I would suggest is that, if it's all right, that the leadership team sort of continues to have that conversation, and bring something forth to the school committee. Maybe not necessarily a full school committee policy, but to ensure that, as you say, the sanctity of the classroom and is maintained.
This educational space.
So
I think it's
we'll put that on our agenda.
And if I could quickly say, Mr. Robert Trotter, who sat on this committee and knows Dr. Marcus, and he does say hi. If I did not say that last week.
You did, you told me.
I did? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he just came back from being on his holiday time off.
Oh.
As a volunteer, they do get time off. So anyways, that what Bob was saying to me, that when Mass puts out policy, that's the best time to adopt whatever is new. And it gives you the guidance, and you can always go back and look at what, if you think you missed something, go back and look at it and bring it forward.
Right, I think there's also a discussion here that comes up a lot in our policy subcommittee about the difference between policy and procedure. And it seems like that the procedure around cell phone use in school will be something that would be in the handbook. And then if there,
Yes.
And how to deal with it, we have the policy, wouldn't it be that the bell to bell would be adopted in the procedure, and then policy around having to.
Yeah, essentially, the high school handbook, because it's voted on by the school committee, is policy. And so while it's procedure, you're owning it as policy. So it is what it is. But I feel like the best thing would be to have the educational leaders talk about it, come up with the concepts, and make sure that we're bringing back, our recommendations, if that's all right.
I am super happy to have any recommendations from the leadership here. I also think that the policy advisory group is going to be a great place to, suss some of that stuff out a little bit further, because especially where we have teachers, mental health professionals, parents, like, they're going to have some interesting, I think, perspectives too. I know that when my oldest was in middle school, he was often at a loss because the teachers were telling the students to use their cell phones to do like online, quizzes or something along those lines. And then I specifically went out and got my youngest a cell phone so that he'd be able to participate, and then they did away with it because everybody got Chromebooks, so they didn't need their cell phones anymore. So I'll bill Whitman-Hanson later for that.
Hey, just quickly, there's a lot of information out there, and I'm new to this whole concept. I think my only problem was that my son would sit in high school and text me, "Mom, bring me this and bring me that," and I'd have to drive it in, and I wonder, like, is he in class, But he graduated and is fine. But in terms of its effect on mental health, and even when we were talking with, we have a wonderful program here for the drug and addiction.
Was it Will?
Whitman Will. And the biggest question is, what could you do to sort of stop sort of the stresses that are causing the children this? And everybody kind of quietly looked at each other and said, cell phones. And so I just had never realized that it was such a big deal. And so that night, actually, I went all up to the North Shore to attend a meeting, and there's possibility, and got grant information. I think I sent it out. Glenn thanked me for it. A while back, whatever I picked up at that meeting, but we have had serious mental health issues, and taking advantage of anything, even if it means, that parent who really does love those extra texts during the day, Mom, bring me extra water texts, even if it's that, I think that really looking at the facts and all of that.
Warren?
Okay. All right,
Anything else about policy?
Any questions about policy? Okay.
Thank you for doing what you
Yeah.
do.
Oh, my pleasure. I would, try to, make a bed up here, but, I think Mr.
Ryan took
Trestle
your
already
room.
has it,
Yeah,
the
Ryan took
space.
your
So for warrant subcommittee, we've been meeting, it was Ms. Hill and Ms. Stafford and myself. Ms. Hill has had to step off of the committee. Mr. Trestle kindly appointed himself to fill that spot, because he feels like he's here anyway. We met last week. We signed, I actually had to step away for a family emergency, so Mr. Trestle and Ms. Stafford signed payroll warrant and the food services warrant. For some reason, accounts payable was not ready, so we are coming in this Friday to sign the accounts payable warrant. My goal, and I'm sure that I speak for the other members of the committee too, is that we could come in once every 2 weeks, and that whatever's ready, we sign, and whatever isn't, waits until 2 weeks later unless there is an absolute emergency. That's just kind of a request on my part to get life a little bit simpler. So, the other thing that we're going to do at our meeting this Friday is we're going to actually come up with a charge. On last Friday, after my family emergency, I did a learning lunch on subcommittees, which I had taken at the Mass Conference, but I decided to take it again since I'm on so many. We actually need to come up with a charge as a subcommittee that we bring forth to the full committee for approval. And so we're going to do that, and I've been doing some research as to what a warrant subcommittee is supposed to do. So I will share that later.
And it might be different than we're doing, so
Exactly.
that's the
Right.
discussion.
Just
Ms. Hill.
quickly, Ms. through the chair, Ms. Blackman, any information that for developing committees or any, standards, if it pertains to other committees, if you wanted to send that along, because we have so many new committees that we're developing, if there is anything.
So I can share the notes from the Hoover app from the Mass Conference on subcommittees, and people can do with that. But yes, like when you have your the audit,
Yeah, we'll have to bring this up to structure
you will
that.
need to create a charge. Policy needs to create a charge because we just need to do that officially, apparently. So that will be coming up.
All right, anything else on warrant subcommittee? Okay. I'm going to call you Ms. McCain. Ms. McGann, would would you do me a favor, could you see if anyone signed up for public comment on that sheet for me? Maybe. Okay, thank you.
We'll just ask Ms. McCann if she does.
Okay.
Just a reminder before we get to that tomorrow is the inaugural meeting of the interim superintendent search subcommittee. Right, is that what we're called?
Yep.
Tomorrow at 4 o'clock upstairs. And then the building committee have a meeting Tuesday?
Yes,
Yep.
So there's a Whitman Building Committee meeting next Tuesday here?
here at 4:30.
I just had a quick question, because we're not allowed to go to those meetings, like, our voice is at this table. When are we allowed to sort of say, hey, listen, this is what we're hoping for individually before you start the search?
Well, we're just finding information and stuff right now.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing, I think tomorrow, I think the idea is we're setting up basically like the timeline, the procedure for it. We're not going to be,
Of the timeline.
the timeline of stuff, yes.
Yeah.
So, Did you have a question, Ms. Blackman?
Oh, just.
I'm sorry, Rosemary.
In terms of the timeline.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I wanted to mention. What was presented by MASC seemed, to me, to extend the timeline far beyond what I thought was reasonable. I feel like our community our kids and so, well, the search is important. It added extra steps and extra expenses and more, I just felt like it was far more than I thought it would be. And, you know, I think even, quite frankly, even like, you know, having to have why couldn't we go from why couldn't we go from Mr. Marcus to the search for somebody if we already had somebody who understood budgets? Why is there another whole thing for an interim? So
I think it's a step that we're supposed to take, I think, by
Okay.
standards, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's something
just
that,
was-
yeah, because I had asked that question too, and it's a step that we're supposed to do. So when you have an acting and you're not gonna do the superintendent, which we decided that we probably couldn't get somebody maybe if they wanted it, you know, at the time, that you need to go from acting to interim and then the full superintendent, so.
Yeah,
I think a big piece of it was that if we started the search for the full superintendent today, we're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, there was
So
nobody
we're
else.
already behind a lot of other communities. MASC's already kind of out of it. He was suggesting, and I don't actually always know the timeline here, but he's suggesting if we started now, we're kind of behind.
already
So to
behind.
put the interim in for a slightly longer period of time would allow us to get going at an earlier time in the next window.
Right.
That's what the suggestion.
Yeah, this is where I don't know if that's factual. I can't say,
Well-
I didn't know, and I worry, and I'm gonna say this, and everyone's gonna probably upset, is I have had my sense that sometimes MASC has their own thought process, and
But we don't have to agree.
they are not elected.
Right.
Right.
We
Well,
are
we don't have to
elected.
agree with decisions. We
And
make the decisions.
and often I've seen and I've experienced things over the years with them that feels as if maybe well-intended may run an agenda separate than what we may have.
I'll just say, I think that, and then Ms. Blackman, I'll get to you. I think that bringing in Mask for the logistics of helping us do the search, I think, and do this.
Point of order,
Oh.
we've got to be careful, it's not on the agenda.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, it's fair, yeah, okay. Thank you very much, yep,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
It's about this, this
But
subcommittee.
I think
in
it's
terms
about
of
the-
No, it
timing.
wasn't.
But
That's
it's not on,
not-
it's not
that
on here.
subcommittee's not
We
even
just
on
mentioned that it's the meeting's tomorrow, so.
that's
I thought we have subcommittees on there.
But not this one in particular.
okay.
TJ was just bringing up the date, so thank you, Ms. Stafford. I was about to
I
just.
didn't want to
need
get us
another-
in trouble and
I know, I
another
do another apology,
apology,
I know, yeah. It's a recurring thing with me. Ms. Blackman.
So, just a point of order about, there were things that were on past agendas
Yes.
that got skipped over due to other circumstances, which I completely understand. However, two that stick out in my mind, which I'm going to make a motion that they be on the next meeting. One of them I've been asking for since June, I think, is graduation expenses, a discussion about the graduation expenses. And the second one that I know, I don't feel like it has a lot of weight necessarily, but the MCAS results were supposed to be something that was on,
Yes.
they were in
Thank you.
October or November, I don't remember which. We didn't get to them. Again, I understand they don't count towards graduation. Some students may not have put their full effort into them, so the results might not be valid. However, we said we were gonna report out on them.
Thank you.
And we need
So
to
I
make sure
second
we
if
do
that's
that.
a motion.
Okay.
Because you said you.
Point of order.
That
It was
motion.
I am
point of
making that
order.
Point of
motion.
order, okay, yeah.
It was a point of order, so, yeah, I would be careful. because
Yeah.
it's-
Okay,
You can contact him directly, contact
Oh, yeah.
Ryan
Yeah.
directly and ask to put him
Yeah.
on.
okay, so I can, but I have asked,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
emailed and asked. And I I do know that if something has been skipped over enough times, I can make a point of order at the end of the meeting to make mention of it, and that somebody can support it, and that there can, I believe, there can be a vote on, to make sure that those items are
So I think you have to
put
make a
on the next
motion, I think, is
agenda.
what.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So,
I thought
well,
you made a
it
motion.
was, it was a point of
Yeah.
order
Okay.
Oh, I see.
for, because, and then the, because it's not on the agenda to
Okay.
backtrack. So,
Can you make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that those two items
Yep.
be put on the next agenda for the full business meeting
I second.
on the 28th.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Yep. All right, okay. So now we have public comment. Ms. Byers?
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you for your willingness to the committee to review the online learning policy and better understand how it's going to impact students. And then thank you for the enrollment update and the mention of hold harmless, which relates to our Chapter 70 aid. So just real quickly regarding that, we currently get $26 million in state aid, and we're in hold harmless because the district, due to its enrollment and low income and inflation factors, is really only eligible for $23 million. Okay, that's on the DESE website. So when we say we're in hold harmless, it's because we're eligible for $23 million, but we get $26 million because the state will never give us less than we got last year. The important fact I want to drive home to all you as we head into budget season, and we may hear about the towns saying, oh, we can get placeholder 5%, right, from the assessment we gave before and a 5%, quote, increase. I'm just looking at the FY26 assessments the towns paid. So Hanson is close to 16 million. It's 15.7. So 16 million from Hanson, 20 million from Whitman. So that's 36 million. You add the 26 million state aid, and you're up to your 62 million, close to the whole budget. So those three are your sources of revenue. However, that 26 million of state aid is going to be flat, right? There's no 5% more coming from the state. So keep that, those are the three important figures. So when you walk around town and they say, oh, 5% more for the schools, we're at Prop 2.5 and you're at 5%. Please remind everyone we get 26 million in state aid, and we're not getting a 5% increase on that. So every expense or salary that goes in that bucket of 26 million that's going up according to inflation, we're not getting that increase. So that's where that difference in the overall budget increase versus the assessment increase. So please just sort of keep that 26 million in mind. We may get a minimum per pupil increase when you're in hold harmless. I think the legislation is $35 or $30 per pupil. With 3,400 kids, that's $100,000. That's it. So 26 million, 26.1 million. That's all that's going up. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Next, we have Melissa V. Oh, that's okay. Okay.
It's fine.
That's all right.
Good.
I probably would have mangled it anyways, and then I have to apologize to you next time, too, so.
And you'd have to come to the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Home Street Hanson. I'm an educator here within the district, and I'm also a district parent. I actually don't have a comment, I have a request. Sitting in attendance at these meetings, it's very difficult to follow along when the budget is being talked about, and we can't see it. We don't get the handout, so I'm hoping that in the future,
Yes.
the smart board can be utilized
Yes.
so that people in the audience can follow along if we want to take notes or whatnot, but we can see it in real time, because I don't want to speak for other people, but it gets very lost in translation when you
Yes.
can't see what's going
We
on.
used to, yeah, we had the
Yeah.
ability to put it there and then put another one,
Right.
like, right there, so you could mirror it to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, historically, I've been to many school
Yeah.
committee meetings over the last 10 years, and things have always been posted, and then recently that hasn't been happening, so it's just a request that moving forward, we be able to see what you guys can see in real time.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Chris.
I think there had also at previous meetings been a discussion about potentially putting these documents as accessible via a QR code.
Yes, it's up there.
It is, okay, perfect.
But this document that that we looked at was not in the packet. So
Right.
that was added late.
We
So
just got it.
that's something we'll work on to make sure that everything is.
One other thing I'm hearing is it's a little difficult to hear, so if we could have volume raised.
Oh,
I don't know.
We need to
I'm back.
speak up.
I can be louder, don't worry.
Should we speak up? Sit closer to the microphone. I'm guessing you did not have trouble hearing me, but that's okay.
okay. All right. If
Motion
there's-
to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.